How does Professor Neil Adger do his research, and what does this mean for producing contemporary geographical knowledges? In this presentation, we will explore our findings from our interview with Professor Neil Adger, an ISI highly cited researcher at the University of Exeter. His extensive background as a social scientist equips him within the realms of human geography. He has also been a coordinating lead author for the IPCC. We will outline our preparation for and experience of the interview before breaking down the question into two main subtopics, unpacking how Neil does his research and what his research means for producing contemporary geographical knowledge.
Former surface-level background research highlighted Neil's role within the discipline. His specialisms in migration, adaptation to climate change, and social resilience stood out in the article that we were given. Brainstorming over the article and WordPress advice led us to generate 12 questions, covering his contribution to academia and beyond. We prepared for a semi-structured interview as we were unsure of the extent Neil would be wanting to elaborate. Phillips and Johns made us think about how Neil as a lone interviewee would feel with all four of us asking questions. We decided 2 would take the questions so we could fill in for one another, and that 2 would make notes so we had key points and quotes to work from. We arrived with an interview schedule, combining questions including the factual and affectual. For example, asking how Neil felt about and worked around themes of colonialism in his research was an effective question, which came from our interest in institutionalized geographical methods.
Neil encouraged us to record the interview to use it as a reference point, a technique Longhurst suggested would boost focus. During the interview, the structure surprised us. The interviewers had to complete feats of mental gymnastics, interjecting with unaddressed questions within the time frame. These were in an unplanned order, which Longhurst highlights is essential in allowing the conversation to flow. We felt as though most of his answers covered the topics under our questions, alongside personal insight into his emotions and connections with the DACA team. Drawing on Phillips and Johns, we questioned how factors such as our age may have affected how we were able to articulate the interview as inexperienced interviewers consulting an elite.
Neil takes incentive for undertaking research from his former work, branching off from previous research questions such as those concerning migration in Bangladesh. Neil described how his research incentive also came from relations with other researchers, seen through Neil's positive experience with multiple projects and long-standing collaboration with the team in Dhaka. Co-authorship is common across much of his research. He researches in line with contemporary objectives such as the Sustainable Development Goals, which can boost funding. Basing his research on migrants in Bangladesh research on SDG number 11 resulted in the ultimate hypothesis. The effectiveness and the speed at which you integrate new migrant populations into cities and planning and investment is the key to making sustainable cities. The paper we were given was a result of a desire to support Blue Sky's curiosity-driven research. As part of the Development Frontiers programme regarding developing a connection and greater understanding of the Global South, it involved pitching a novel 3-year project based on any topic. Neil remarked that their proposal being chosen based on novelty made them feel really good. In the paper we were given, he carries out an innovative, open-ended visual research method called photo voice. This invited the 17 participants to each talk for 2 hours on economic, social and environmental aspects of their lives, supplemented by photos they took. Neil used inter-rater reliability to minimise the subjectivity of this method, using multiple researchers to code the transcripts before looking for resonance. Neil explained how he hybridises knowledge from other areas of social and general science, detailing that the best geographical knowledge is not necessarily entirely geographical.
Neil is conscious of ethical considerations when undertaking research. The project we read up on pursued efforts to decolonise geography. Neil was wary of how, as a white English man, he worked within the Exeter and Dhaka team in conducting research methods in a former British colony. Power dynamics were considered within the interactions the migrants had with the planners, so the comfort or honesty of respondents wasn't compromised. Neil said that collecting the data himself as an outsider would be a really bad idea. Instead, he hired a local team of skilled graduate enumerators, due to them having a much higher level of trust with the migrants.
Both the enumerators and the photo voice research method were key in granting voice and agency to the participants, whom Phillips and Johns have said to have been marginalised in historical research. The names of migrants were hidden in confidentiality and anonymity to protect their identity. Ethical considerations within Neil's methods address Oswin's concern for new commitments to challenge colonialism and elitism in research.
The production of contemporary geographical knowledges refers to recent or current examples of academic understanding within and outside the discipline and how they are constructed. Harvey, cited in Gregory et al., outlines contextualizing and deterritorializing geography as key methods in which geographical knowledge is produced and through which it circulates. Neil's work in Bangladesh fits this description, relating to the production of geographical knowledges at multiple sites.
Neil's guidance on the work of PhD students shows his active role in enhancing contemporary geographical understandings. One of his previous PhD students is now a researcher on programs at the Belfair Centre, including natural resources and public policy, and their work contextualises geographical knowledges within these programs. Neil is currently working with a PhD student, collecting data on Dartmoor and in the Exe Valley to determine the most affected areas by flooding and who has a voice in managing flood risk. The collection of current data at multiple sites, allowing cross-referencing, is an important part towards producing contemporary knowledges. Neil currently teaches a section on inequality and the environment in the MSc Global Sustainability Solutions programme. Real-world applications, including challenges and debates, instill these geographical knowledges within students, which they could reproduce within their careers. Neil is also involved in 3 research projects centred around climate change and social application. This includes a project called Habitable, gathering 21 interdisciplinary partners, including NGOs, international organisations and think tanks from 18 countries. This is an application of his involvement in contemporary knowledge production and circulation at a global scale. The ethical considerations within Neil's work are essential in deterritorializing geography, which Gregory et al. Detail is key in producing contemporary geographical understandings.
The Chattogram City Council and Mayor's Office were blown away by the methodology in Neil's paper that we were given, saying they had never seen anything like it. Their method helped to devise a 5-year master plan for the city, which has an exploding migrant population. The contemporary geographical knowledges that Neil's methods produced are reproduced through implementing the master plan in infrastructural placement and development. Neil highlighted that what was originally a city-specific plan is now being replicated in national government strategy in at least 6 to 8 towns and cities across Bangladesh. This shows the contemporary application of the strategy and proof of concept. Neil's research has had contemporary importance on a global scale. Alongside the main delegates representing Bangladesh, including the Ministers for Disaster Management and Relief, and Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Neil was able to present the national strategy that his methods contributed towards at COP26. Neil stated in our interview that his biggest academic achievements have been his application of knowledge and techniques through hybridization, as well as researching with a blue skies approach. He expressed he is prouder of his new ways of thinking rather than his methods, and that his methods are just tools to his research. Within the paper we read, these ideas and methods had huge importance, contributing to a breakthrough geographical hypothesis that the effectiveness and the speed at which you integrate new migrant populations into city structures, planning, and futures is the key to making sustainable cities.